And today we're honored to have a great guest. She's the Director of Family Engagement at A New Family Services, author of Present Moment Parenting, Your Guide to a Peaceful Life with Your Intense Child, Tina Feigle. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you too, Tony. This is a great opportunity.
So Tina, tell us about yourself. Why did you become a parenting coach? What did your journey look like? I can't imagine when you were 6 years old, you woke up one morning and said, I'm going to be a parenting coach someday. That's what I'm going to do.
Not exactly, because there wasn't such a thing. And even when I started, there wasn't such a thing. I pretty much made it up. That's really how it happened. That was in 2000. So I think I'm the oldest parent coach in the country, probably. Awesome. And I was a school psychologist. So I have a professional and a personal path that brought me here. School psychology, I was doing evaluations for emotional behavioral disorders, and I thought if I could just get to the adults who love and care for and teach these kids, we wouldn't have to have so many evaluations for emotional behavioral disorders. So I pretty much just hung my shingle as a parent coach and hoped, so
I bet that was really, really difficult work.
It was a journey, let's just say that way. And I'm so glad that I hung in there and did it, because now it's just turned into such a fabulous endeavor. And then from a personal perspective, I have 3 sons, and one of my sons really was a little more challenging to handle. And then when he was 7 and I just had his baby brother, he was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wow.
And that didn't make his behavior better. It made it really even more intense. And he was bright, and he could just conceptualize things way beyond his ability to comfort himself. Mm-hmm. And he could take in the full meaning of what cancer was in a way that a 7-year-old usually doesn't. So it was a huge challenge, and he's fine now. He's wonderful, and I'm so grateful for his life. And but it really did lead me to want to help other parents who are going through hard times, not only from the behavioral perspective, but from, life events kind of perspectives too, that throw kids off and send their behaviors into a realm where no one was expecting, and they don't know what to do. So my heart is for the parents. My heart is for the children. I want to see them feeling better. So that's why I do what I do.
That's an awesome personal story. Thanks for sharing that. You must have learned a lot through that process, and you're able to share a lot of those experiences with other people so they can stand on the foundation you built. So that's really cool. So this might seem like an obvious question, but who benefits from parenting coaching? Kind of like, what are the relationships, or who's impacted by it when people are engaged in that process?
Everybody benefits. The coaches benefit, and the parents benefit, and the children benefit, and the grandparents and the aunts and uncles and all the people who are surrounding a child whose behavior is like the one you don't want him to come to your house because he's going to cause a ruckus, or the one the grandparents lay awake at night and worry about. Everybody benefits when we can bring that child back to equilibrium. So teachers benefit, everybody benefits.
What does that process look like? Kind of how does parenting coaching work?
It's every 2 weeks. It's an hour and a half to begin with, so that I give everybody plenty of time. If I'm talking to both parents, they have plenty of time to tell me the story from their perspectives. And then I leave them at the end of that hour and a half with what to do today. And then 3 more sessions of 1 hour each every 2 weeks, just to kind of fine tune and add to what we've talked about already. And if there are some trouble spots, they bring them to those 3 meetings, and we can make them feel, make the child feel more relaxed. And that's really where the behavior comes from. It comes from that mental state.
Are the children involved at all during the coaching process, or how are the children involved?
Actually, it's really very effective not to involve the children.
Okay.
Because especially if they have a history of some mental health issues, or they're in foster care, for instance, which is what A New Family Services does. We don't want one more meeting where the kids feel like they're the problem and some professional has to come in and fix me because I'm, the bad kid. I'm the identified problem, and we don't want that. We want the kids to feel as if they're really wonderful. And when I place the healing in the hands of the parents, it's extremely effective. So I love doing it from behind the scenes where the children don't even have to know it's happening. And I do it on Zoom and on the phone. So I work with people from anybody who speaks English. I can help them.
So in your experience, how can parenting coaching help married couples that are, blessed with an intense child?
I love the way you say blessed with an intense child, because really they are huge blessings. Oftentimes intense children are really bright. I coach a lot of parents who have bright kids. I coach a lot of parents who have everything: autism, ADHD, developmental delays, anything. It all kind of works for those. I have a formula, but I customize it to every single family. And what it does is when parents say, well, she's too harsh on him and he's too lenient, or he's too harsh and she's too lenient, what I say is, I'm not going to side with you and I'm not going to side with you. I'm going to give you something in the middle that you both can agree on, because it really works. Mm-hmm. And it's physiologically based too. So it doesn't have to do with what's that child's motivation and all that kind of stuff and how you were parented. It doesn't really have to come into the situation as much, because we understand how communication affects the child's body. What's the body doing when parents talk to the child? And it involves the present moment, being here now with the child. And the combination of those two things is really, really effective.
So I have two little girls. So I have a 2.5-year-old and a 12-month-old. So Eleanor and Reagan. So we're in the thick of being new parents, and it's awesome. They're both, I wouldn't consider either of them intense children at this point. Eleanor's she's more like her father and likes to question lots of things and try to understand why we want to do things and explore and all that kind of stuff. So, my wife and I are big advocates of kind of getting help in a lot of different ways so that we can do as best as we can. But in reality, if we happen to, our next child, we plan on having a whole bunch. But if we were blessed with a intense child, like what's the reality? How effective is parenting coaching? Not having gone through it, and what really makes it effective? What does that look like?
What makes it effective is actually leaning into something completely new that you hadn't heard about before, which is the physiological piece. How does communication affect your child's body, and how can you build that bond with particular words, and how can you not give energy to the things you don't want and give a lot of energy to the things you do want? Those are all parts of present moment parenting that are really very effective, that we give pre and post questionnaires to each of our parents or our couples. So at the end, we have now compiled 140 of those responses to see if on paper we actually are having an effect. And the findings are significant, statistically significant upward trend on every one of the questions that we ask.
So it sounds like, if I understood it, what makes it effective is kind of leaning into a new way to think about parenting. So conversely, like when does the parenting coaching process not work? Like what are things that influence that? Like if you're going to enter it, what are things you should consider as you're really looking at that?
The times when it doesn't work is when a parent might not have his or her basic needs fulfilled, and they just can't really listen to a new thing. They can't take it in, they can't implement it because their attention is so on survival. So that's something that we have found. And also, if parents are really, really stuck in an authoritarian, I got to tell this kid what to do and he or she has to behave and I have to punish them if they don't do it, and I can't get off that. And that's really pretty rare in my experience that happens, but occasionally it has happened. Mostly I don't see it that it doesn't work. I've been at it for almost 20 years, and I think I have a handful of people for whom it didn't work because they were unable to let go of that old way of thinking.
So you mentioned earlier, you said present moment parenting. That's the main title of your book. So what does that mean? Help us understand what that means. Is that what is that concept?
Well, as I was going along, I was learning about the power of now. Eckhart Tolle wrote this book called The Power of Now, and he wrote another book called A New Earth. I condensed it into 3 sentences. So nothing has ever happened in the past, and nothing will ever happen in the future. Everything happens in the present moment. And when you really think about that, it's hard to argue with, so where is our power? Why did he write a book called The Power of Now? Our power is in the present moment. So if we have past experiences that we don't want to see repeated, worrying about the future doesn't do the trick. Staying in the present with the child who's expressing some big feeling. I mean, when we see acting out behavior, it's expression of a very big feeling. And it's a readable signal for the parents to connect with the child in that moment on whatever the discomfort is, and simply really see the child. And I even say you don't even have to fix the problem. You just have to see the child.
So you've mentioned a lot the physical manifestations of child's emotions. Your website mentions physio-relational parenting. Is that kind of what that means?
Yes. It's really thinking about how your communication affects his or her body and what's actually happening. And then how can I build my relationship with my child by understanding thoroughly what it is the body's doing as a result of our communication, and then making it in a way that works for everybody, because it's really not that far, not a very big leap from having a positive effect on the body, or having a negative effect on the body, to having a positive effect on the body.
Why do you coach parents, train professionals, certify other coaches, and like, what does that work mean to you? Like, what does that mean to you going through your experiences, everything you've learned? And
Sometimes people say, boy, you have a really tough job. You're dealing with those really hard kids who've really been through a lot, or who come to the world wired very intensely. What a tough job. And, to me, it is like riding on a roller coaster, because I can really help them, and I think about those children in the child welfare realm, for instance, who have been displaced from their homes, and they are lying in bed at night because of things I have been able to share with their parents. And they're thinking, I get to stay here. I'm not going to be moved from home to home. I'm secure here. I get to stay. And I think about any child lying in the bed thinking, I'm a okay kid, even though my behavior's been really rough. It's truly not my fault. And this is what I have parents say to kids: it's not your fault. You are responding to the things that have happened to you. It's your brain, it's your body doing this. It's not you. And when they can feel the forgiveness, and parents can feel the forgiveness for what they did that they thought was wrong, we just don't judge our parents at all. We just help them. We just lead them to higher ground. And it's like riding on a roller coaster. I have a blast at doing what I do.
Well, Tina, thank you so much for talking with us today and sharing your journey and your experiences and everything you've been able to learn and share with the world, and helping communities become stronger and helping families become better. So to connect with Tina, her website's parentingmojo.com. You can also hit her up on Twitter at Tina Feigle. And her book, again, is Present Moment Parenting, Your Guide to a Peaceful Life with Your Intense Child. That can be found on her website or on Audible. So thank you, Tina, so much for being here. Really appreciate getting to know you and learning more about your story.
Thank you too, Tony. This has just been a real pleasure. I really appreciate the work you're doing. It's phenomenal.
Flourishing Families is a sterling series where we'll explore concepts related to healthy communication, family time, fiscal responsibility, emotional support, health and wellness, personal responsibility, and living a purpose-driven life. Please like and subscribe. We hope these stories are enriching and provoke ideas as you strive to build a strong family.